Hi, welcome to my channel, Math Made Easy with Laurel. I'm Laurel, and in this video we're going to talk about subtracting fractions. So let's start off with a pie, and that pie is divided into 8 equal pieces. And let's say you took 3 of those pieces of pie and put them on a nice plate for yourself. So the fraction of the pie you've taken is 3/8. But unfortunately, your little brother came by and he stole one of those pieces of pie from you. So he stole 1/8 of the pie from your plate. So what's remaining? When you subtract fractions, it's the same rule as when you add fractions. You need a common denominator, and then you just either add or subtract the numerators. So in this case, we have 3/8 minus 1/8, so our answer will be, we want to know how many eighths. And in order to find that number, we just subtract our numerators. So 3 minus 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. So you will have 2/8 of the pie on your plate. Now, when you're working with fractions and you get a final answer, you should always check to see if that answer can be reduced. It's not complete or correct unless it's reduced. So that means if there's a number that will divide evenly into both the numerator and the denominator, you need to divide both numerator and denominator by that number. In this case, we can divide both 2 and 8 by 2. So when we divide 2 by 2, we get 1 in the numerator. When we divide 8 by 2, we get 4 in the denominator. So our result when we reduce is 1/4. So you now are left with 1/4 of the pie. Let's take a look at some more examples. In our next example, we have 1/2 minus 1/3. We need a common denominator. So you look for the lowest common denominator, which means you look for the lowest number that both 2 and 3 divide into evenly. That number is 6. So we want to change 1/2 to an equivalent fraction with 6 as the denominator. We want to change 1/3 to an equivalent fraction with 6 as the denominator as well. In order to change to equivalent fractions, you look to see what you need to multiply your denominator by to get your new denominator. In this case, we need to multiply by 3. And whatever you multiply your denominator by, you must multiply your numerator by exactly the same number. So 1 times 3 is 3. So 1/2 will be equivalent to 3/6. We do the same thing with the other fraction, 1/3. We have to change it to an equivalent fraction with 6 as the denominator. In order to do that, we multiply 3 by 2 to get 6. And if I multiply my denominator by 2, I need to multiply my numerator by 2 as well. So 1 times 2 is 2. So 1/3 is equivalent to 2/6. When I have a common denominator, then I subtract my numerators. I keep my denominator, so my answer is going to be 6, so many 6. And my numerator will be 3 minus 2, which is 1/6. And that can't be reduced, so we're done. Let's take a look at some more examples. We have 5/7 minus 1/2. We need a common denominator. The lowest number that both 7 and 2 divide into evenly will be 14. So we're going to change 5/7 to an equivalent fraction with 14 as the denominator. We're going to change 1/2 to an equivalent fraction with 14 as the denominator. So in order to change 5/7 to an equivalent fraction with 14 as the denominator, I'm going to multiply 7 times 2 to get 14. I need to do the same thing to the numerator. So 5 times 2 is 10. So 5/7 is equivalent to 10 over 14. With my next fraction, I have to determine how I change 1/2 to an equivalent fraction with 14 as the denominator. I need to multiply 2 by 7 to get 14. I do the same thing to the numerator. 1 times 7 is 7. Now I have equivalent fractions with the same denominator. I can subtract. My denominator will be 14, and my numerator will be 10 minus 7, which is 3 over 14. We can't reduce it, so we're done. Let's now take a look at some examples where we have mixed numbers. If you're asked to subtract when you're dealing with mixed numbers, the way that you can think of it is subtract the whole numbers and then subtract the fraction part. So you're going to subtract 2 from 4 and you're going to subtract 1/2 from 3/4. And in order to subtract 1/2 from 3/4, these need to be expressed as equivalent fractions with the same denominator. My lowest common denominator here is 4. That's the lowest number that both 4 and 2 divide into evenly. So I'm going to start by expressing all my fractions with the same denominator. 4 3/4 I can leave because it already has the denominator I want. This I'm going to express as 2, and I need to express 1/2 as so many fourths, and in order to do that I change to an equivalent fraction with 4 as the denominator by multiplying 2 by 2, and then I multiply the numerator by 2 as well. So 2 and 1/2 will be equivalent to 2 and 2/4. Now I can subtract 4 minus 2 will be 2. Then 3/4 minus 2/4 is 1/4. You may run into a situation where this fraction is smaller than this fraction. So let's take a look at how you handle that. In this example, we have 5 1/6 minus 3 2/3. I always start by getting a common denominator. That should be your first step. And look for the lowest common denominator. So you're looking for the lowest number that both 6 and 3 divide into evenly, and that number will be 6. Change your fractions to equivalent fraction with 6 as a denominator. So I have 5 1/6. It already has 6 as a denominator, so I don't need to change anything. With this fraction, I need to change 2/3 to so many 6. And in order to find out how many 6, we know that we have to multiply 3 by 2 to get 6. So we're going to multiply our numerator by 2 as well. So that will be 4/6. In this situation, this fraction is larger than this one. So I cannot subtract 4/6 from 1/6. However, what I am going to do is I'm going to borrow a 1 from this 5. So I'm going to write 5 as 4 plus 1 plus 1/6 minus 3 4/6. Then I'm going to write that as 4 plus 1 1/6 1 1/6, I can change that to an improper fraction. 1 times 6 plus 1 will be 7/6. So what I'm going to be doing is changing 5 1/6 to 4 7/6. I went through a number of steps to show you why that works, but when you're actually doing this, all you need to do is borrow from the 5. So you take 1 away, that becomes 4, and you add a 1, which is 6/6, to the 1/6 to get 7/6. So really you can go from right to here if you understand the process. I just wanted to go through step by step so you could see exactly what I was doing. Now I can subtract 4/6 from 7/6, so I'm good. I start with my whole numbers. 4 minus 3 is 1, and then 7/6 minus 4/6 will be 3/6. That can be reduced, so I'm not quite done. 3/6 is equivalent to 1/2. Therefore, my final answer will be 1 1/2. If you understood these examples, then you're ready to try them on your own. And as always, my recommendation is practice as many as you can to get good at subtracting fractions.